Three, two, one, zero. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 94th episode of the Sonic Talk podcast, the Sonic Prime Season 1 Spoilercast, or episode 1 through 8, whichever. I am your host for this evening, Knuckles87, and with me today are my good buddies, Shigs and GX.
It's prime time, baby!
If you're such a good buddy, why did you not listen to me when I told you not to destroy the world?
Well, I put it back together.
Hi. I don't know, I'm tired tonight. What do you want from me?
Oh, you're tired? You've been busy? Like holiday shenanigans?
Oh no, work shenanigans. Constant. Like 60-hour weeks.
Man, even on a Sunday? I thought you'd at
No,
least have
Sunday hasn't been... Sunday's been personal work, we'll say.
Ah, okay. So like Sonic Stadium stream stuff.
Oh, no. Cleaning.
Oh, okay, yeah. That kind of personal work. Yeah,
Yes.
that's good work. For me it's Hanukkah tomorrow, so I gotta start lighting those candles. Yeah, we're here to talk about Sonic Prime. I guess we might as well just start off with how we felt about it. So, Shigs, why don't you go first on that one?
We'll say watching the first 40-minute episode in Roblox is not really the way anyone should be watching that. I know
No, I
a lot
did
of
like
us
a
got
dozen times.
impatient, because it was 5 days out
For
between
many reasons.
episodes.
I got
Yeah,
a review for that up on the
that's,
site.
that's a news article we'd have to go in the next episode. Yeah, it looks like the people who were paying the programmers weren't doing a great job on
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Anyway, as far as the first, it's smart to do it at 40 minutes. That way, it had a nice pacing to it. The one thing I'm going to say automatically I like about this particular Sonic is that he feels more like Saddam Sonic again, where he's a little bit on the arrogant side, little overconfident, and
Oh,
it's more of a character journey, him developing his character over time again. It's always
yeah,
good to do that with the hero's journey kind of thing.
yeah. Like I
And
know that there are some
I
people.
guess a lot of people are upset because this is supposed to be
Yeah,
canon to the games, but it still feels like a slightly different Sonic to the other ones. I still
I
think
got
it's
some
a
thoughts. I got some
perfectly
thoughts
fine
on that later.
I got some thoughts on
Sonic
that as
that.
well.
But I mean, I still dig this Sonic. Yeah, I'm curious still about the Chaos Council part. Well, no, we'll talk about that part later. Yeah, the animation was extremely well done for a lower budget Netflix series. I thought it was looked really good. Um, but what else was I going to say? Story wise, it's an interesting premise that we're an entertaining premise that we're going to be going to these different worlds and seeing different versions of all these Sonic characters. Like for instance, we got like this Tails as 9 in the dystopian, Green Hills, where he's a total badass with these extra mechanical tails he made for himself, and then we go into the very next world, and he's this mangy little feral fox that can't really do anything.
Yeah, his name is
It's,
literally Mangy.
yeah, it's mangy.
Um,
And let me see, the main thing I want to get off right away is the voice cast is fantastic. I think we were really worried when they found out that because it's developed in Canada, it's a different company that they were going with an all different voice cast, and it wasn't going to be quite as good. But
I
Devin
wasn't
Mack as
worried.
Sonic and the rest of them nailed really nailed it. In fact, Devin Mack's probably my favorite Sonic voice to
Like,
date.
if
He's
there's
just got a
one,
nice range of if he feels like a little bit of pardon me, a little bit of
You
his
sort
name's
of
escaping me.
yeah, the movie Sonic and the standard game Sonic.
Yeah, a little bit of Ryan Drummond, a little bit of Sad Am Sonic. His name is
Okay.
Jaleel
escaping me
White.
right now. Jaleel White, thank you.
Yeah.
A little bit
Normally,
of everything, and he's got
normally
a nice
people say
mix.
normally people say Ben Schwartz and Roger Craig Smith, but you think it's Brian Drummond and Jaleel White, huh?
Yeah, a little bit of that. Well, a little bit of Ben
Brian
Schwartz
Drummond.
too. He also voices Orbot and Cubot, which surprised me.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's doing a great job. The actress doing Rouge is doing a great job.
Well,
Amy sounds
we can
almost identical to Cindy
cover the voice
Robinson's.
actors a little more thoroughly later. But like,
Yeah,
what's your just overall thoughts on the show? Like, is it good or bad?
the humor's a little dumbed down for kids, I feel, but the story's well done. The animation's very well done as well. It's entertaining enough because you don't know from episode to episode what kind of adventure, kind of world he's going to go in. Well, sometimes you do because sometimes it's two or three parts in
Yeah.
that particular world.
Um,
But I like this where the story arc going. That it's each episode's connected week by week.
for me
So yeah,
personally,
so far I'm giving it about an 8 out of 10. I'm enjoying it a
well,
lot so far.
for me personally, like I like two Sonic shows out of the five, six, if you count the OVA. I think I don't know, but like I like Sonic Sat AM and I like Sonic Boom. Sonic OVA is decent, but that's not really a TV show. So maybe I should leave that out. But everything else I don't really care for. This is definitely like the first Sonic show. This is definitely like gonna be one of those Sonic shows that I rate in the I like it category. This is good. I don't know where it ranks among my other liked shows yet, in part because it's not done yet. But the important thing is that I'm really enjoying it. It gets a little goofy and stupid sometimes, which on the whole I'm okay with because this is a kid show. But like, I don't know, like mangy the mangy joke was just kind of weird for me. But we'll go into that stuff later. But you're like there's some silliness in there. And so if you're like looking for something that's more along the lines of the IDW comics and tone, you don't quite get that. But I still do enjoy it for what it is. It really feels like a show that's kind of in the vein of Ben 10 Alien Force, um, where like there's decent character drama, solid writing, arcs that are like planned out, and they're executed pretty decently. It's on the like the high end of what Man of Action does, which is pretty good, I think, because I really liked Alien Force back in the day. Um, the animation, yeah, that it is gorgeous. So, but yeah, like overall, like Sonic Prime it's kind of what I wish the movie was, honestly. Like I'm looking at this and thinking, why can't they just make this 2 hours and release it in theaters? But whatever. It's still a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. Albeit I do have some issues. So GX, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's good. It's all right. It's pretty good. I wouldn't say it's my favorite Netflix cartoon. I wouldn't say it's my
Oh
favorite
no.
cartoon even from Wild Brain, or I would not say it's my favorite cartoon of Man of Action, but the biggest fears I had was Man of Action has a pretty dramatic range of like where they can write for. And when they lean too young, it tends to really screw with them being able to tell a reasonable story, especially as humor is concerned. I don't know if you knew this, but I watched through of all of Mega Man Fully Charged.
I keep forgetting you did that.
That
But
that
you have
show
told us.
is very much aimed at like, I don't know, 6 and 7 year olds is the vibe I get from it. Like it's real young, and it feels real kind of insufferably young.
Hmm.
Uh
That is the impression I got from like the bits I've seen of the show.
Sonic Prime still very much a kids show. Like it does not escape
Yeah.
that label. It's not trying to be a Gravity Falls or a Owl House or a Steven Universe or even Infinity Train or anything like that.
Transformers Prime, that's another one.
It's just a pretty solid kids show. It's not particularly obnoxious. It's not particularly over the top. Structurally, I think was my biggest surprise. I came into it expecting like, okay, this is going to be Sonic Quantum Leap or like Sonic's version of Marvel What If, where it's like, okay, new universe, he has to do something in this universe, he does it, and then he has to go to the next universe in the next episode. It ain't like that. It's him jumping around all over the place among several different universes across multiple episodes, and I was a bit impressed by that. It sounds like they have, for lack of a better word, a slightly more intricate plot than I was expecting it to be. And I appreciate that, I guess.
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting it to like be this kind of almost character study of Sonic's various friends.
All the character,
But
like all the different versions of those characters are actually drastically different between the different universes. Like, it's certainly a take on some of their archetypal elements, but also Nine is a very different character than Tails. Knuckles the Dread is a very different character than Knuckles. Also, they have different
You
voice
just named my
actors.
two favorite characters in the show so far.
Yeah, by the way, if you hadn't noticed, Standard World Knuckles has a different voice actor than Alternate World Knuckles.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's my one like minor nitpick is the regular, Green Hills Knuckles, his voice is just a little too deep for me. I
like
thought it
his
would
voice has
way
been
too.
his voice has been getting progressively deeper since Sonic Underground, and just keep going and going and going. Now it's just like full barrel-chested, deep baritone thing, practically.
Yeah, I think his voice is Renegade Nux in the dystopian world is actually the best fit.
It's kind of New Yorky, like got that
Yeah,
accent.
Yeah.
yeah, a
Because
little bit. Well, they're in New York, so I
yeah,
guess so.
yeah, New York.
So yeah,
Yeah,
I liked it. I would like to see more of it. I'd like to see sort of where the plot goes. I guess I'm going to have some differing feelings about maybe their approach to Shadow to you guys, but beyond that, yeah.
I'm just glad that it is better than Skylanders. Like,
Oh, yes.
we've
Absolutely.
talked about Skylanders on here before, where like I consider it to be like the bare minimum adequate, like it's barely passable, which was enough for me to have it be on in the background for.
Oh yeah, for
a
me
season.
Skylanders was so that I could listen to Bobcat Goldthwait and Richard Horvitz, and that's the
Yeah,
primary reason why I watched that show.
Yeah, I'll say that Skylanders probably had better humor to it, but as a show, no, its writing was just very juvenile.
I'll tell you what, in regards for the humor of this, Sonic's quips are trash, absolutely. They're
Yeah,
kids junk. But in terms of like the physical humor of it, number one, it's funny to get to see Sonic get hit. It's funny to have cartoon violence happen to him, and they do a pretty good job with that.
yeah, it's kind of weird because you don't see that happen very often, aside from the occasional face plant.
No, you okay? You have to be okay with Sonic not being. We spent so
Invincible?
long trying to establish Sonic as like, no, Sonic's the cool character. No, Sonic's a doofus. Sonic's an egotistical doofus who.
Personally, that's my favorite appeal of the characters. That he's this
I think now is a good time
doofus.
to go into
He's
the
this
characters.
He's
kind of
he's
Make that
borderline
transition
jock.
easily.
Is
he's
what
like
he
a
is.
nerd who thinks he's cooler than he is.
Yeah,
That
a
is,
jock.
in my mind, the best Sonic.
Yeah.
Like a
And that's
Sonic
my
that,
favorite kind of Sonic. That's why I like this particular Sonic.
like, from like, and what I do
He's got
appreciate,
some sad am to him.
Although, unlike Sad M Sonic, he doesn't have an Antoine to be a shark too, which I do appreciate.
It's kind of been Knuckles in this one, though.
Yeah, but Knuckles can punch back. I mean, theoretically, anyway, we haven't really seen much of Sonic and regular game canon Knuckles yet.
Weirdly, we did see an extended interaction between the two in a flashback.
Yeah. That's another thing that's kind of annoying some people, but yeah. So we got to see how
you don't have to
Sonic
have it that exact. It's to show, hey, they needed that, the chaos, the Master Emerald background scene and everything, and just had some dialogue that wasn't in the original game, and that's
I
fine. It's just showing
suppose
you, hey, this is their relationship, and
I
that's my
suppose the
feeling
very
about.
I suppose the very first thing we should talk about is this show's canonicity.
Well, okay.
Um,
One thing that I noticed that you've criticized before is that it takes place primarily in Green Hills, and Green Hills feels like the entire world. And I think the reason they're doing that is just that you need a focus point for the alternate worlds that they are that where they come from, and this is just this one
that
big area that's a focusing on for the
Can I
entire
complain
world.
about Sonic fan?
that is exactly why they did it,
Can
and
I
the reason why they go on.
can I complain about Sonic fans for a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Time for GX absolutely abandons the audience. So I understand Sonic fans have this complaint about Green Hill Zone. The problem is Sonic fans seem to have a lot of trouble understanding people who are not Sonic fans.
Yeah.
Pretty
I
much.
think I know what you're gonna say.
And the thing you have to understand about Sonic the franchise is that people who are not dedicated Sonic fans, who have not, oh, hi, person in chat. No, we generally don't do this. Hi, person in chat. Aside from the thing that I am saying right now, we generally don't reply directly to the comments during the show. But we appreciate you watching.
Well, we may do the occasional shout out though.
Yes. If you say something pithy. Yeah, people who aren't Sonic fans understand Green Hill, and that's why they use it. They use it because it's shorthand of, this is Sonic. This is symbolic of Sonic. This is representative of Sonic. That's why when you look at merch, like the fancy statues, they usually take place in an iconic stage. Quite often, Green Hill. Green Hill is something that people generally understand as, hey, this is representative of the series. And in this case, they sort of made it as Sonic's, for lack of a better word, home. His home, everyone's home. And yeah, it's silly that the super powerful crystal of there was home, like, right there, but also they weren't making a big, massive, globe-trotting story. They made a story that is rooted in a home location. They sort of take great pains to emphasize this is a different historical take on what might have happened to Green Hill, to the point where they specifically highlight, like, the palm tree is a symbol.
Palm tree, yeah.
The loop is a focal point. It's just things that they know that people will recognize, that they have Sonic recognize, and just say, this is the same place, but different.
Yeah. In essence,
and they use the palm tree as a focal point, not only a focal point, but a story point for, like, Thorn in that one story. I thought it was pretty well done.
Thorn, also
Now,
the Resistance, like they have.
Yeah, see, and as GX was saying, say you did that they did a Superman story where he was traveling through different universes, different worlds of the same planet. They would use Metropolis, the city, as a focal point. Just the exact same type of thing. It's
So I think
it's their home.
I think one thing science fans do have to accept about this show is that it is a significantly slimmed down version of Sonic's lore for general audiences. Like, that is the reason why they say Green Hill instead of South Island. That is the reason why, in terms of game locations, they focus on the most familiar thing possible. That's why we only have like one Chaos Emerald pop up, specifically so that Shadow can do his Chaos Control thing. Like this is the central focus of this show is on Sonic and his most marketable friends plus Rouge. And Big, I guess.
I like this. I like that.
Yeah, Big,
I like that it
became a
feels
bigger
like
focal
it's a
point than I
slam.
realized. Yeah, Big became a larger character. Well, not physically larger, but had more screen time than I thought he would have. I was surprised.
Although he has spent most of it mute, unless aside from when he was hungry, which I find fascinating.
Yeah, well, it depends. Like, there's different versions of him that apparently are a little bit more talkative than the others, and I don't know. I didn't hate his voice actor, which is not something I can say about Duke Nukem himself and his performance in Big.
In fairness, Sega made him do that voice. So,
Sure. They could stop. They could stop asking him to do that voice.
But
Pirate Big and Froggy were adorable.
so
I think all the pirate ones were adorable anyway.
So like,
Go ahead,
yeah,
sorry.
but in terms of canonicity, like Sonic fans really do need to just stop getting focused on like these little specific and minor canonicity errors, because if you go across all of Sonic's games, you're going to encounter loads of weird and bad continuity.
So,
like,
speaking of which,
sometimes you just gotta accept that for the sake of a game premise or for the sake of a story.
Speaking of which, I want to touch on something that's sort of come up in the realm of like continuity itself, and the concept that this show is canon. And while I understand the desire for fans to sort of cling to this show is canon, you have to understand, this doesn't necessarily mean that whenever the next Sonic game comes out, it's going to be built on Sonic remembering the events that happened here. Much in the same way that he made very brief reference to one of the characters in the comic book in Sonic Frontiers, but he wasn't saying, like, oh, this was the time when the metal virus happened, because, quite honestly, they probably never will. It is canon in so much as Sega wants to have a universe that is more unified and makes sense. That is what they mean whenever they say
wish
canon.
It wasn't, though.
And so when it comes to Sonic's characterization and canonicity, I do personally think that this Sonic is not so different from his game and comic counterparts that he is a different character. This is just a Sonic who essentially has become more overconfident than what we're used to seeing in the games. And like, you could place this like anywhere in the timeline and say, hey, he beat Eggman so much that like he just started like coasting through things and not paying attention. He stopped like paying attention to his friends as much as he used to, but he still really likes them, etc., etc. Like,
I mean,
like,
while I
do-
agree with that,
yeah,
I would also say it comes with the understanding that no matter what thing you're coming from, you're going to have to deal with the fact that there's going to be multiple writers that handle this, and multiple writers are going to have multiple interpretations of the characters. You just can't escape that.
So, yes.
And ultimately, Sonic needed these changes if he was going to work as the central character of a show. Like,
and whether Sega says it's canon or not, it's still going to be its own thing. I mean,
yeah.
Once this is over, you're going to just have the same old game Sonic with the next game.
Like, ultimately, you can't have a show that's dramatic and tries to have character development, and then have a character that doesn't change or learn anything as your central focus. That just doesn't work. That's going to result in a boring show. One of the primary reasons why this show works is because Sonic is kind of a jerk at the beginning. You want him to see him like learn something from this adventure and treat his friends a little better. Like, that's one of the central hooks of this show. And like, that makes things like go into the canon a little less effectively, that's just the price you have to pay for a better story.
So now that we've yelled at the community, do we want to talk about those friends themselves? Because I think there's some interesting choices in the cast itself.
Yes, yes. So Tails. I pretend to rag on Tails a lot here, but he really is the highlight of these first 8 episodes. Both regular game Tails and also his fascist universe counterpart 9. Like, they are great.
Yeah.
I don't call him fascist, but he's like the
No,
No,
the
no, it's the
universe.
fascist universe. The
the universe
Fashverse.
is the dystopian world he's living in.
It,
But pretty much everyone's fan favorite out of this is 9. It seems like, and I really enjoyed what they do with him because he's we saw the little backstory of when he was bullied and Sonic saved him originally. Only now he's bullied and nobody's there to save him.
And so it became
So
Doc
he's
Ock.
become despondent and just using his own brains to just protect himself, and that's all he seems to care about is hiding away and protecting himself. Even when he started becoming friends with Sonic, he finally built a ship that used the one prism energy just to get out of to the Shadowverse and find a little world for them to hide on. Which, of course, Sonic didn't want to do that. He wanted to save people.
Yeah.
But I like him. But I mean, there wasn't much to Tails as a pirate, though. I'll say that he's pretty
Like,
mediocre. But I
different
do love
characters
how, like
get
you said, when they went from 9 to mangy, which is
different characters get
like the
different
least
levels
smart
of focus,
Tails.
like
Yeah.
in a given
Oh,
story.
to,
yeah, and Amy is basically the villain of two different
to some
worlds
extent,
for a little bit.
the way they've sort of established the delineation of the universes in a story manner is it feels like one character is the focus of each individual universe, whether it be
Yeah.
9 in the dystopian universe, or Knuckles the Dread in the pirate universe, or Thorn Rose in the jungle universe. It feels like each one is built around sort of one character to be able to develop some particular side of them. And more particularly, have Sonic have a, I don't know, sort of a personal epiphany about, like, what is my relationship or how am I treating this other person? Because the first story, as they sort of unpack it from the, through the use of, like, flashbacks prior to when the Shatterverse event happens, is Sonic is not really listening to Tails, not really listening to Knuckles, not really appreciating Amy, and it turns into situations where he is now sort of adversarial to some extent, or either directly or indirectly, and needing to be able to resolve that in a way that he understood his friends, and to bring that to the fight, or to bring that to resolving the conflict.
Yeah. That was especially important with Thorn Rose,
Right.
where he
Yeah, that was that's a well done story. I thought in that one.
I was genuinely
Um,
surprised by the emotions in that storyline, given the goofy way it started.
It
I
really hammered
do
home
like,
the symbolism that they sort of try to give to the palm tree.
I do like how each universe has a different tone in its feel. Like the pirate universe seems to be a lot more lighthearted compared to like the dystopian one where you got Amy turned into Rusty Rose, almost fully roboticized, and using her pet bird Birdie
Oy
as
vey,
a
that was
battery of
dark.
sorts. That's a pretty dark spot in it. Um, I so it's nice to see something that's almost as dark as Saddam here, and then almost as light as Adventures in another episode. Um,
Yeah, yeah. You go from you go from fascists to party pirates.
yeah, pretty much.
But
Uh,
like, so going back to 9 and Tails, um, uh, what I do appreciate about this character specifically is that they this is probably like the dang it, the most effective way for them to like show what they're doing with these characters, where it's like, this is what happens when Sonic isn't around to stop them, and like this is how Sonic has affects his friends' lives. I don't know, and
No, it's.
we
I mean,
got so
they.
far away from 11. I forgot what I was going to say. From 9, I forgot what I was going to say.
No, that's the literal setup for that. Is yeah, this is a world without a Sonic. They're all a world without a Sonic per se, but it kind of highlights like this is the impact of not having that one in particular. I would say because that is the only world we've experienced thus far with an Eggman. Or Eggmen. It is the world in which not having a Sonic is felt most significantly, because the Jungle World is having its own issues, and they're not things that fighting Eggman could resolve. And that's sort of the same thing with the Pirate World, until they start effing with the structure a little bit. But yeah, it's interesting like, what they want to do with these characters, especially with interpretations like Rusty Rose, as you said. And
with 9, he's like a borderline mad scientist throughout this thing, and he's like really mean and kind of arrogant. But through Sonic, he's kind of learning to trust other people. But of course, it's just he's only willing to trust Sonic at first. And you kind of see the character arc they're setting up with him over the course of this show, and then of course we have Rusty Rose, which is just Sonic hasn't had a thing that creepy in a cartoon since Sonic Sat-Am, and I think this is probably a little more effective, honestly.
She just has really long legs. Like, she has just impossibly long legs that she just runs continuously with.
And like even when
she got a lot of bunny rabbit in her, you know.
Even when they briefly get her on their
stretchy arms.
Even when they briefly get her on their side, 9 makes sure to note, "Oh, she doesn't have free will. I just took control of her." But it looks like they're even like kind of also setting up a story arc for Rusty Rose, because by the end of the show, she is starting to kind of reassert her own free will, albeit gradually.
Well, she has had reactions in odd ways, most specifically to something you wouldn't expect.
Pirate Amy.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect in a show like this to have one version of the character encounter another version of the character. That seems like that's the kind of thing that a show would say, "Oh, this creates a paradox, and we want to avoid something like this." And
it is the paradox prism.
Right away, they are like, "No, it's not only do they meet each other, but like there's a visceral reaction to, oh, this is me."
Can we just talk about how Amy in all 3 continuities like has some level of bloodlust? Like even Pirate Amy is just ready to stick somebody.
Well, that's very weird, because when they first introduce the pirates, they very much are all of that nature, and then that just quickly entirely evaporates.
Yeah, because we get Knuckles the Dread and his whole party pirate ship, and
this is a new crew, and it feels like they're more playing pirates than actually being pirates.
Yeah, but again, like with just going into Knuckles the Dread, he's another character who gets his own story arc, albeit it's one that I'm not sure we've seen the end of yet. Where it's like, oh yeah, he was trying to get this treasure, and he failed, and he became all despondent and depressed, and Sonic has to kind of bring him out of his funk and make him want to be a pirate again.
It's kind of a theme so far of this, that Sonic jumps in. He, generally speaking, gets to the point where it seems like he's going to make things better. And then something happens to pull him out of it, and the story isn't necessarily fully resolved. And It seems like that was the case for the pirate one. It's absolutely the running case for the
Utopian
destroyed
future one.
the egg world,
Not a
the
future, but
Chaos
dystopian
Council
world.
one. And the only one where it seems like there's some meaningful resolution is the jungle world.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's kind of, and then they begin playing with that, sort of through a combination of like, oh, did Pirate Knuckles just go full on Gollum? Like, is that what we're gonna be dealing with after this?
I think so. Like, he's starting to get all crazy and being all, ha ha ha, my precious! And so, like, here I am thinking, oh, is the season, like, gonna end with Sonic having to fight Pirate Knuckles or something? But no. He gets sucked into it again.
Maybe the next 8 episodes.
And then we
I
have
have
the
a feeling that. Sorry, I was gonna say I have a feeling that this is only going to break off into like 5 different worlds because I noticed we don't have Eggman in any of these worlds, but we have the Chaos Council. Well, there's 5 different Eggmen of 5 different ages.
I mean,
So
I
I'm
think we're gonna
wondering if
get.
they
I think
pulled these Eggman from the different worlds into one.
I mean, I think we're getting a world for each of Sonic's friends, which at this point we've had it for Amy, Knuckles, and Tails, but not Rouge and Big. So
Right. So
I've
yeah,
got 2 more worlds
I
to
think so
track.
too. So probably 2 more worlds. It's a total of 5.
But sometimes I gotta admit, I guess didn't really care for some of the interpretations of the characters, albeit they certainly did. It's like sometimes most of these characters, they generally had to like kind of simplify their personalities, since they couldn't give them much runtime. Like you can only devote so much screen time to a given character in a show like this.
Yeah, and
But like,
Rouge and Big were mostly background characters with not
well,
a lot
I
going
wouldn't
for
call
them
them
right now.
background characters, but they haven't
Especially
had their own
Big, but
focuses yet.
yeah, they didn't have
Um,
much focus at all.
given
But so like in the jungle universe, we had Mangy, who's literally just like a feral Tails that barks, which
He's like
I don't
he's
know
the
how
most
to
puppy version of Tails that's ever been.
like. As just weird to me on multiple levels, and I don't know, I don't like it. And then we have Knuckles, who's basically Sticks, a conspiracy theorist.
sure,
Oh
Which
yeah, there's a
like
lot of sticks in that particular version of Knuckles.
except honestly, the jokes weren't nearly as good as the jokes that Sticks got. Like, Knuckles just
I don't think it necessarily could be in the same way. I just don't think it was.
sure, but I don't know, like Knuckles just screaming, "The trees are talking!" It's just, I don't know.
Well,
That's weird.
I mean, the focus in this one, or at least in those two, is Rouge is the one that, generally speaking, represents that group. And
Yeah.
it's sort of pit like her group against Amy Rose and the forest and the behavior of that. And I kind of am saying that because we have not had the universe yet where it's like, who is Rouge and what is the universe that perhaps focuses around her. But in both the jungle and dystopian universes, it's interesting because she is presented as like the leadership figure for them.
Heck, in the fascist universe, we actually even got to see some of Rouge's backstory, which I was not expecting.
I like that they gave her the bat qualities of that she sleeps upside down.
Yeah, and
I do
Yeah, we
appreciate
never
that.
seen her. The first
Like-
time we ever. She's the most bat-like in this series than she's ever been in the games or in Sonic X, really.
Let's
really
not
do
forget,
appreciate-
bats don't have their wings on their back. They have their wings attached
Yeah.
to their arms. That is how a
Yeah.
bat works. Rouge
Yeah.
just has like weird angel wings that are just bat. Like she's from Gaia Online or something.
I really do appreciate Rouge's animation and characterization in this, though, and her voice acting. So that in many ways, it's probably the best she's ever actually been in a thing.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that too. Yeah.
I will say so in the Prime. I guess we would call it the Prime universe, where it does play into some of her qualities. I don't think they've given her due attention yet in the various Shadowverse versions.
I think that's coming up, but yeah, they really haven't given her that much focus.
Yeah,
But at least she doesn't have a saxophone playing every time she enters the scene like
I do
in the
appreciate that.
Sonic X.
I don't look. I might actually still say Sonic X version of Rouge is actually a pretty decent version of that character, if only because they paired her with Topaz, and the dynamic between those two is probably one of the better written aspects of that show.
And yet, to
I kind of agree with that. Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
it's a Joel Thief and a cop hanging out.
right, hanging out. And okay, so is there anything?
I
we've
mean, unless
missed?
we want to talk about Big, which Big.
We have not talked about Big or Shadow or Eggman, actually.
Well, I was going to
Shadow,
suggest.
I think, is the next gig because as much as Sonic's taking the blame for the Shadowverse being created, Shadow did kind of have a hand in that by delaying Sonic to begin with, just to
I mean, he was
fight with him for
he was
fighting's
trying
sake.
to-
So let's break this down, because there's statements to be had about like Shadow's motivation as a character these days and sort of how it doesn't work out. And I think there is enough of a pattern here between Sonic, well, not the cartoon Sonic Boom, but the game Sonic Boom, as well as certain things that are happening in the IDW space and this cartoon. And I think the best way for me to sort of assess who Shadow is as a character thus far is he generally considers himself a world protector, much like Sonic does. However, he understands that Sonic as a hero is reckless and destructive in the ways that he handles it. And he feels that basically Sonic is around to cause trouble in that sort of way. And that is why the instigation in something like this happens. Like, Shadow doesn't just randomly go and attack Sonic because whatever. He did it because Sonic tossed this robot off a cliff that apparently, as Shadow describes it, like, you shook the world. And yeah, that response is basically Shadow saying, like, look, you're doing stuff. I feel the need to stop you for the sake of the world.
I feel like that is a solid interpretation of Shadow's characterization.
I would say
modern canon.
The best way I would compare it to is whenever you have the superhero story. This is a pretty archetypal superhero story where you have the superhero who's doing their interpretation of the best that they can. And then you usually have the organization behind the scenes that is like, we need to get these people under control. We need to do something about this. And like, even the Sonic X comic had that for a little while, where you had Sonicx as the sort of background, who their attitude is, this Sonic and his friends are a problem. We can't really control what they're doing. We need to do something about it. Shadow kind of represents that. And in this case, he's sort of right.
Yeah. I think that's a fine interpretation of Shadow's motivation and character. And certainly, in IDW Sonic, we do see Shadow specifically fight Sonic over wanting to kill Eggman and not wanting to risk the world over Eggman in Sonic's judgment, and then blaming him when the metal virus hits. So that all blends pretty well with that. I just don't think that I think that Shadow's core motivation, why does he bother saving the world in the first place? I don't really think that is really borne out in anything we've seen in anything connected to the games. And I think Sega desperately needs to do something about that. That being said, I am looking forward to what they're going to do with Shadow in this, because Shadow's been written pretty well so far. He doesn't just come off as a jerk. he comes off as like someone who like genuinely wants to save the world and still has reason to be antagonistic towards
At
Sonic.
the same time,
So
he's kind of just punch first, ask questions later without really,
yeah,
talk without doing any talking whatsoever.
he's dark and brooding. What do you want from him? um, but like yeah, like as like the season ends with Sonic and Shadow seemingly having some sort of confrontation. I'm hoping that like by that like this kind of marks Shadow entering the story as like a central character. I'm crossing my fingers for that. Uh, but I don't know. My instinct is that he'll pop up, he'll say a few things, maybe he'll get an episode, then he'll be whisked off somewhere because that's how characters like him tend to get treated.
To,
To
to an
say though,
extent.
as we've been floating around in that Shadowverse space the entire time.
Yeah.
Seems like
Like,
it. He's been trying to communicate with Sonic in one way or another.
Yeah. Whenever
Um,
Sonic can go high speed enough.
Now, for
So,
Big, this is probably the best Big we've ever gotten.
Oh, no question. It's not even close.
because he has dialogue for
Like, I
more
like
than
him in Archie,
one sentence or two.
but beyond that, like, this kind of feels like the first shot Biggs had being a character, like, since he was created.
Well, let's be clear here. Sega, Sonic Team, whoever, have never really made Big a character. They've made him sort of an entity, and they have a good time sort of putting him in unexpected places, whether it be like Sonic Adventure 2 or Sonic and the Secret Rings or wherever else. Sometimes he's playable in games, but he's not like a character that has, put it bluntly, he is not a character that has thoughts. He's not a character that has agency. He kind of does in Sonic Adventure, but it's
He just wants to find Froggy and Fish and
I'm not going to say
He
he's
just wants to fish because him and Froggy just hang out together. I love how they give Froggy little costumes per universe as well.
And I'm not going to claim that he's well-defined in Sonic Prime as we've seen it thus far. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe we'll get to see the universe where his alternate version is a bit of a priority. But at the same time, I think the way that it works out better is he isn't treated as if he is effectively single-minded to the point of almost being brain dead or something. He has dialogue, he has agency, he has reactions to things. He can go do things with the group and have opinions.
In the dystopian universe, he joins the resistance. Like, he's actually one of the first characters to rise up when he realizes the robots aren't working for a couple minutes. And in the jungle universe, he of course he's fat, so he's very hungry, and he actually talks a lot, albeit mostly about being hungry and eating tree bark. But regardless, like, it's kind of weird seeing Big kind of have negative character traits, but we kind of got that there. And then in the pirate universe, he doesn't really talk, and
nobody says anything meaningful in the pirate universe except Knuckles.
Well, yeah, like unless it's violence, like Rouge and Amy.
No, they're. I mean, they're.
All they do is point their swords and go "arg."
Yeah, there was some discussion over on the Discord a little bit where I don't know if this was the sentiment that was intended, but someone did express like there seems to be somewhat lacking in characters, and not necessarily like just standard Sonic characters, and there is an element of that here. This is very much focused on 5 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 8-ish core characters that are basically reinterpreted in different ways, and it doesn't necessarily build out those worlds in a way that they
Like,
feel populated. Like it's kind of
essentially, outside the dystopian universe, the worlds are basically just empty.
yeah. I guess the comparison that I would make is this absolutely looks better than Sonic Boom, but it still feels occasionally cheap in the way that Sonic Boom sometimes feels cheap, or that all CG animated shows sometimes feel a bit cheap, in that you
I
get a
did
lot.
notice a slight dip in quality from episodes
No,
4 on
it's not
compared
even
to
that,
episode
Jason.
3.
It's whenever you basically don't have a population of people in the background, or the ones that you do feel incredibly generic. Like a lot of the ones that they have feel even sub Sonic Forces character creator. They
Like
feel kind
Yeah,
of
they have
literally
a
were
they
just
have
like
like
mass
fi
produced to
yeah,
fill
they
the
have like
background.
5 or 6 of those characters that they just reuse as assets in
Ultimately,
every over
that
and
is
over.
because shows like this are built on a budget. Models take
yes.
time and money to
Yeah.
make,
They
but
do, but you would think that they would like maybe copy paste them a little bit more to make it feel like maybe there's a bit of a crowd. It's funny that the Jungle World, you're supposed to believe, well, it's this one girl against this group of scavengers. The scavengers are 4 people, and it's the 4
yeah,
people who
like
you are
I kept
knowing going to
I,
be in there.
I kept expecting to see a village, but nope, just those 4 guys.
Like, it doesn't give you a sense that they really built that location out. And I kind of feel the same about the pirate world. Pirate world, they do have uh Knuckles the Dread's old crew made of those same character models, but
Yeah,
it's not as if you really get any sort of sense that a society exists in that world. It's not like
Yeah,
there's
there's
like they
just like
never
a whole
stop at a
bunch of
port
empty
or
sea
something.
except for a tiny island.
yeah. So
And usually that stuff really bothers me, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because I was enjoying the storylines as they were that that didn't like bug me as
I
much as normally would.
I think it still stands as a legitimate criticism.
Oh, definitely.
You
I'm not saying
you
it
would
isn't.
want them to flesh out these individual worlds to make them feel a
I'm
little
just
bit
saying
better.
that
But at the same
for
time,
me,
these are broad strokes because this is a kids show.
I'm just saying that for me, that's typically a major pet peeve when a world feels empty, but for whatever reason didn't bother me in Prime, which I'm guessing you said just because I was enjoying what else they had on offer.
Sure,
um,
sure.
so finally, of course, we do have Eggman, and I like
So
so
I was gonna say we
I
should talk
mentioned
about the Chaos Council, I guess.
I mentioned this specifically in my review of the first episode. But GX, I'm sure that after Frontiers Eggman, you were super happy to have a very bombastic, villainous Eggman back, right?
Oh yeah, it's pretty good. Like Eggman, like the Eggman that is the Eggman, the one from I don't know if it's supposed to be considered the Prime universe or whatever it is. It's the type
Same
of thing
main
that a show
universe.
like this would do. You don't spend a lot of time with him in a meaningful way. I do like that he is seen like just doing his evil doctor thing to Orbot and Cubot, even though they have no impact on the show whatsoever beyond
Yeah,
standing
they
there.
were basically gone after the first episode, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, to sort of emphasize it a little bit better, I really dig the kind of Chaos Council thing that they have going on
Yeah.
in the other thing,
That's
because
pretty
you do have the central Eggman, who is, I suppose, supposed to be Mr. Doctor
Oh, Mr.
Eggman.
Dr. Eggman.
Mr. Dr. Eggman, which is stupid and good, and I like it.
That's so weird because it's like a doctorate is like supposed to be above a mere Mister, right? Like you had to work for that doctorate, but
But then you also have, surprisingly, the one that seems to get the most, I don't know, screen time or attention is Dr. Babble, the baby, who has no
Yeah.
words.
Yeah.
Everyone seems to react as like, Oh, this guy of all of them seems to be the biggest sadist. So
It's
Yeah.
funny.
as
Every
he
time the baby talks, they go, "Oh, are you sure? That's kind of cruel, but yeah, okay. I think I see where you're going with that."
and you see him constantly in this big, dumb, stupid baby toy robot.
Oh, it looks like a play school, yeah, preschool toy
Then you
And
have
then we have
with shiny
Doctor
buttons.
Deep,
well, you have
who's
Doctor Deep.
basically like an otaku.
Yeah, he's just a big stupid weeb. Like I don't know what's going on there,
He wears
but
a freaking samurai suit. Oh
his
my
name
god!
is Doctor Deep, as if that's a thing.
And he tries to sound deep and profound. He doesn't. It's all like surface level, which is exactly what you would expect from an Eggman trying to be deep. But just hilarious. Like from what I can gather, this has like Eggman from every single phase of his life. You know, you have the baby, the tween, the young adult who's fake deep and because he just got out of college and was a philosophy major, and then you have like middle-aged regular Eggman with a toupee, and then you got old man Eggman who I really do enjoy. What was Doctor Did It or
I am trying to look it up as we speak.
I think it was Dr. Dunnett. It was Dr. Dunnett. Yeah. Who like
Done it as in
like,
past tense, I guess.
Yeah.
yeah. Then I think Dr. Don't was the tween, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Because tweens don't. They just want to sit down and play video games all day apparently and get high scores because this show was written by a 60-year-old man. Who thinks that video games are so all about getting high scores. Regardless, like, yeah, the Chaos Council is a lot of fun. Now, they are a bit on the shallow side as characters, but I think that's fine when the personalities are as fun as they are.
They exist as sort of a force in that world, and because they can converse with each other, that at least, gives it a little bit more personality.
Yeah.
It's almost like a much more realized interpretation of like the Deadly Six. It's very similar to archetypes that they fall under, only just a little bit more cartoonified.
They also seem to be like, I don't know, like manifestations of individual parts of Eggman's personality.
Kinda.
Like, he can be a bit of a baby. I don't know about Dr. Deep, but I don't know. Maybe I'm
It's a stretch for me. We'll say that.
Okay. But really, like, I'm just wondering, like, what's the backstory of these things? Because, like,
the backstory is they rolled into Green Hill one day with bulldozers and didn't stop.
They kind of remind me of the Cleons from Foundation, which is it's this Isaac Asimov sci-fi thing where the leader of this empire is just this one guy who clones himself over and over again. So there's like an old version, young version, and then kid version. And so I don't know. Is Eggman just cloning himself to like
Kang the Conqueror
found an empire or what?
Marvel Comics, because there's lots of different age versions of him.
Ah, okay. Well, I'm not familiar with that one, but yeah, that too.
They're surprisingly effective. Like even with or without a Sonic in that world, they are surprisingly good at what they're doing, to the extent that I think it's worth maybe looping back around to 9. 9 becomes a big important character in the franchise outside of his universe, because he takes what he's learned about Sonic and creates a spaceship that can then further transverse the different universes. And then from that point, once they are able to capture him, gain that technology, and become the primary, I'm guessing the primary threat of the rest of the show.
So you think 9's gonna be the primary threat, or the Chaos Council?
I'm wondering if 9 will. Well, I don't
I
want to predict
haven't.
that far, but I will at least say the Chaos Council is certainly going to be around for a bit as they try to figure out, okay, how can we mess up these other universes for our own goals? Because they kind of let the what is it that comes out of the genie out of the
Yeah, Sheeny.
bottle in order to do that. So I don't think they're going to go back to a more standard structure of Sonic goes to this universe and spends some time in it and then never sees it again.
Like bare minimum, they're gonna have to defeat the Chaos Council before they can, like, I don't know, move on to move on to some other structure for the show. But I have been getting like villain vibes from 9. Like,
Yeah, I
could
think
go in
there's
that
one part where
direction.
there's one part where they capture him in his ship, and then I'm gonna rewatch it right now to check it out. But it looks like Nine actually smiles as they're taking him up, and it's
huh,
either that he's going villainous himself, or he wants to use them. And I
hmm,
think they're egotistical enough that I think he can take advantage of that.
man, I don't remember him smiling, but maybe I missed it.
Well, you have the element of him just wanting to rebuild civilization in a way that he sees fit over in the what was it called, the
Uh,
void, the
Shadowverse.
no,
Yeah,
the
it's
no,
the
no.
Void in the Shadowverse.
no,
Uh,
what's it called?
no. I'm trying to remember what he.
The
It's like it's a barren rock with crystals on it.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
that barren planet.
Yeah, but you get basically there's not enough growth from him to really say, "Oh, he's trusting now," because he isn't. He trusts Sonic, and then Sonic, generally speaking, through no trust of his own, tends to go in and out of these universes. And in the case of that other universe, him not being there whenever they need him just kind of sets him up to become, oh, he's just going to abandon whatever. We cannot trust this guy.
yeah. Like that's already how the rebels were looking at Sonic when he got back after a couple of weeks.
And it's kind of one of the big issues that sets up the story is Sonic isn't there when they need him at the time they need him, regardless of circumstance.
So, I feel like we should move on to like just a general discussion of the plot. Um, let's see what where I had it in my head a minute ago exactly where I wanted to go. Um, I guess. Oh yeah, I guess like what are your thoughts on the general quality of the pacing of the story? Um, in my mind, the show had some issues, got a little slow at points. Like especially around issue 3 with all the like the show loves its flashbacks, and it was getting to a point where it was just like getting a little distracting by how often it was kind of going back to Green Hill or referring to back to previous moments from previous episodes.
It felt like
And
they
Yeah,
wanted
one
to.
thing.
Yeah, it felt like they wanted to get to. Okay, to use the Simpsons metaphor, it felt like they wanted to get to the fireworks factory now and explain it later.
yeah, honestly, I think I would have
Yeah,
preferred if the first episode had just like laying out all of the potential conflicts and issues, and like just like have it just take place on Green Hill, and then like near the end they get sent. They shatter the universe, and then the show starts properly. Like that, in my mind, would have been better pacing versus what we ended up getting, which I don't know. Like it just kind of felt like it was stopping and starting at points. Um, just like occasionally, even like this can completely take me out of the episode. And for me, that's kind of probably my biggest issue with the whole show is just the way the flashbacks are worked into the story.
that did get. I was gonna say it almost has too many as many flashbacks as a One Piece episode, especially Wano, but not quite that.
Except
far.
sometimes it's flashing back to something that happened like 2 or 3 episodes ago. It's like, come on, Netflix. This is built for binging. Like,
The only
what do
the
you
only
think people
time
are
that
doing?
that actually worked was with Thorne's episode because they had to flash back to show what exactly Amy was talking about that Sonic had to learn from. But with other times, it's just flashing back to flashback. It's like, yeah, we saw this part happen. We don't need to see it over and over again.
Yeah.
It
I-
it's a strange form of non-linear storytelling of just kind of going back to fill in the gaps of what they're trying to do. And I would say most of the time, if their goal is just, hey, let's get straight to the action, it's good enough. I think they could stand to just make those parts of the story shorter. Just tell me this is about, uncover a little bit of it, and then get back onto it. I think the one where it feels the most inconsistent or incongruous is the parts that involve Shadow. I think if you wanted to introduce that as like, hey, this is part of the story that you probably should have like at least set up that Shadow's there in the first episode and make it clear like Sonic was out trying to take care of this and then came back and then had to take care of it because like it just seems like Shadow's going to be given where he is that he's probably eventually going to be some sort of significant part of the plot.
I hope so. Um,
Yeah, he's the only one that hasn't been affected too much, except for floating around the
yeah, he's basically in the
Shadowverse,
same situation as
the
Sonic.
little mid lobby section, I guess.
He's the only other character who
Purgatory area.
he's the only other character who understands what the world once was.
Yeah.
And what do we think of the quality of the dialogue in this show?
Depends
It
on the
depends.
character.
Yeah, like I said, the humor is like for kids, obviously. I mean, things like "I yawned you, Eggman" is just
I
lame.
did not like that.
But
It's
Yeah,
he's very
as far as
much
the general story goes, with like the themes and everything, like I said before, I think it's just fine. It's the humor. It's where the humor falls flat because it's written. It's written like it's for kids instead of. But
for
because of that, it
me,
kind of dumbs things down
for
in
me,
that
the humor is
perspective.
never like it's never cringy. It's never terrible. It's just never laugh out loud funny. Which I mean, I
Right.
get that's kind of your standard man of action humor. Like even Ben 10, like even like
yeah.
the best of Ben 10 Alien Force and all that stuff. Like even then it's like yeah, like that's I guess maybe I chuckled on occasion, but it's mostly just corny or silly.
It's like comic book banter, effectively. Like it's never something that's actually funny. Like you don't laugh at when Spider-Man says something dumb to one of his many animal-themed enemies.
I don't know, like
But
I laugh at some of Spider-Man's quibs. I laugh at a bunch of Sonic's Ian Flynn quibs. That they can be funny. Like they
they
can at
can
least
be funny,
be
but
better
they have
written
a
than what
Yeah,
he is
it's
in
ceiling.
the
funny
show.
is yeah, these are the same people who did Ultimate Spider-Man, and Ultimate Spider-Man is actually
Why?
pretty funny at times if you've
Oh
ever
no, I
watched
hate
that.
that show.
There's
I
times where
oh
it's funny, but it's
I
not
I
it's not the worst Spider-Man cartoon though. The one they had after that was terrible.
I think I
never
made
saw
it
that
through
one.
one episode of Ultimate Spider-Man and then decided, maybe this whole animated Marvel universe that Disney is trying just isn't going to be for me.
Yeah.
And like ultimately, like I think the only the only like genuinely watchable show from Disney was the Guardians of the Galaxy one.
I
I
know.
forget.
Do you
Live
have
Action did all those shows, didn't they?
Oh yeah,
I don't
they're
think they did it. They didn't do Avengers Earth Mightiest Heroes, did they? Because
They
that one
did.
was
They did.
genuinely really good through the first two seasons I was on.
I thought it was fine the first season. I haven't seen the second season yet. My roommate made me watch it, but yeah, when it comes to Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man, like that has like actual family like jokes, cutaway jokes. I believe. I don't know. It never. I didn't find that show to be very funny, and
It it
Like,
it didn't have anything that made me mad in the way that the movie made me mad with its attempt at humor, because it never dwelled on the joke, whereas
yeah.
whereas the movie is like, we made a joke. Eh? Eh?
Like, ultimately, yeah, that's one big reason why when Sonic Prime makes a bad joke, I don't care, because they immediately move on, and the character drama is generally pretty well written. Like, you know, we went on plenty about how great Nine is. Like, and I think there's
Yeah,
like,
and the story is definitely compelling enough that you want to watch the next episode right away and see what's going to happen next.
and there were certainly jokes that landed in this show. Like, I don't know, like when when we find out that the pirates are party pirates or whatever, like I chuckled, you know. Um, but yeah, the humor definitely not a strong suit. I'm hoping that in future episodes though I don't know, they are able to, I guess, lean a little harder on the drama would be nice, since that seems to be this show's strong suit at the moment.
Yeah, that's very true.
Well, I am still happy to have the variety. Even if
I
the
a little harder, not like only.
Yeah, I
I
do
definitely
like that
want
there's
jokes in
variety
my
and
Sonic
tone, though.
thing.
That's true.
I am glad to have the pirate world, for as stupid as the pirate world is. I don't think we need.
At the same time, the pirate world is silly and cute, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
inoffensive, so it's
I
nice,
like the
kind of
pirate
nice to have.
world
It
significantly
felt like a little
more.
bit of breather after the dystopian world kept coming in and out to have this
For me,
pirate world.
the world I like the least, in case it isn't obvious, consider I've already complained about some of the characters in it, was the Stone Age universe. Like, you
The
know,
jungle one, yeah.
that's where the humor landed with me the least. But like ultimately, like, you know, that whole thing with Thorn Rose and like um the rebel, her being both like the villain but also kind of the hero, you know, all that stuff. Ultimately, the drama in those episodes ultimately saved the arc for
He
me and
was
made
kind
me
of the
enjoy it.
Lorax taken to the extreme a little
Yeah.
bit.
I mean,
Although, like,
I mean,
Amy
they weren't
getting rid of,
really harming the environment; they were just being greedy on the fruit.
they were pulling out trees and stuff. Yeah, I think in terms of like hunter gatherers, they were being pretty destructive.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're being a little greedy. Yeah,
and there's only
um,
4 of them, which is
yeah. I was gonna
especially
say
shocking.
there's only like 4 or 5 of them.
I really wish they could have just like built a village with some background characters or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it probably
Yeah,
should
that
have.
that area, that thing where they needed some huts or something to show that they actually have a living quarters outside of just living above the trees
These are
on a flat
Sonic
surface.
characters. They the only one that has a house is like Tails. The rest of them are just like hobos. Like, you saw where Rouge lives. She just sleeps underneath a palm tree.
I
Anyway,
wonder
so
I wonder if there are any mandates from Sega that Sonic cannot actually have a place to live. Like, we understand there are
well,
so many
Sonic
mandates.
Prime, they all have homes, and Tails has
Well, Sonic Boom
his own
does.
workshop.
Sonic
Yeah,
Sonic doesn't
Sonic
have a
Boom.
door.
That's what I'm saying.
Sonic doesn't have a
It does
door
have,
in Sonic Boom.
yeah,
But
Tails always has a workshop and everything.
yeah, thankfully that's something he's had since Sonic Adventure. So yeah, at least he gets some shelter. Um, and the music. Well, that was honestly, I'm kind of disappointed by the music. Like, it's fine, but the general refusal of these things to use stuff from the games is just kind of annoying.
I don't
It's
care.
just,
I don't
yeah,
need
it
it
just
from the
comes out
games.
standard.
Like
It just comes out standard and average.
Like, you know, there's
It,
some like iconic tunes in the classic games. There's the Green Hill tune is iconic. Like, if you're gonna focus on Green
Oh.
Hill so much, at
Oh,
least
no,
give
no,
us
no, 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 no,
that.
no. Alex, you will not use the Green Hill tune, because they would have to pay someone to use the Green Hill tune, because I'm guessing they still have some sort of agreement with the one Dreams Come True composer that did it, because whenever you look at soundtracks like Sonic Mania, those tracks are suspiciously not available on it.
Okay. Well, I guess they could use Emerald Hill then. I don't know.
Oh, I mean, he would own that too, wouldn't he? Because it's the same composer.
Man.
Yeah.
Is this why we don't get game music in anything? Does Sega not own it?
I mean, we got game music in the movie, but the movie had a much bigger budget and was probably a bit more willing to. But if you look at like something on the lines of Sonic Forces, like right away, if you're wondering why that doesn't have Green Hill, that's my suspicion, is that they didn't want to pay for it.
All right. In that case, I don't know. Like, get us Crush 40 or something. Pretty sure.
Oh, good God, no. No.
Get Crush 40.
Absolutely. Absolutely freaking
Fine,
no.
it's fine the way it is. It's basically Sonic X background music, just
Yeah, it's okay. It's
Do
okay.
you mean the 4Kids
It's
background
fine.
music? Because I think it's at least better than that.
I don't need this show to have really distracting music. Like if they decided to make the music all crazy and noteworthy, like I would find that more distracting than it being in a game. Like you could not get an Otani to compose a show like this because the way that he would put together stuff, well, I don't know, I'm convinced that he probably could, but a soundtrack that he had previously composed, superimposed over this show, I feel like would just not suit the tone of it. It doesn't match the flow of how a cartoon would go.
As I see it, what you do is you would like remix music from the games to suit the tone of the show. Like, and not like have it just game music throughout, but like every now and then, like throw us a bone.
If it was referencing specific portions of the game, then yes. But they're not particularly interested in that, and thus I don't feel this need for them to make extra references to the game.
You can never make too many references to the games.
Actually, it's worth mentioning, this was not the first time that this studio writer combination had used the whole flashbacks as sprite art trick.
Mega Man, right?
Yeah, Mega Man Fully Charged used that quite often. Like, they specifically referenced, oh, classic Mega Man. I think in that case, they based his design, they based the interpretation of his design more on Mega Man 7, which I believe was the first SNES one, if I remember correct. But, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
the only SNES one. Well, no, there was two SNES ones. Yeah,
well, there was
SNES
the X
one.
series as well, but yeah.
Well, I'm thinking like Mega Man, but there's also Mega Man base, so still that.
Yeah.
But yeah. I will say this: the sprite art ain't great. Like,
It's fine. It's okay.
I don't know. Like, I kind of wish they would like hire actual sprite artists for this stuff.
I'm not gonna sit here and say they didn't.
It looks kind of
Genesis
sterile and
enough.
flat. What'd you say?
I say it doesn't look very like Genesis-y enough.
I mean, it just doesn't really look like much of anything. Like the backgrounds are just like weirdly flat and ugly. And
Well,
so
the Emerald Hill one was definitely some sort of interpretation of it. But whenever they did the Hidden Palace reference, that one was almost entirely just ripped sprite. Like it looked.
Yeah.
Mural background.
Yeah, it looked very much like they just pulled it directly from that. I will say it was more appreciated whenever they did it here than when they attempt to do it in Sonic Frontiers. In Sonic Frontiers, it was just completely out of place. Like it looked dumb.
Frontiers was literally just a screenshot of Sonic and Knuckles meeting on Angel Island. It was so weird.
It was
like,
bizarre.
Like, why is he thinking about this? No, what he just said doesn't look like anything from that screenshot. What are you talking about? Regardless. Yeah. Although I do find it kind of funny, like Sonic fans were whining about these sort of game flashbacks, and now like the cartoon does it too.
Yes.
Uh, um, so speaking of the animation, now as we all know, the animation for this show, like Wild Brain was hyping it up as like, we're using this to like improve and boost our like CG animation pipelines.
They
And
were. They specifically, now this was in an investor presentation, but they were saying,
yeah,
"Hey, we're aiming for like a Marvel level of quality." Which, if you're talking to investors, I will repeat, if you're talking to investors, then yes, you want to make the comparison to something that they would understand is very good.
regardless,
It ain't Marvel level CG. It just
no,
ain't.
it's not.
No.
But
That like it was never gonna be because that's like realistic CG. But nevertheless, I do think this is pretty gorgeous and it's pretty cinematic in the way it's shot and set up.
I would put it on
Like
par
there's
with
some,
the 2012 Ninja Turtles.
yeah, like there's some damn good. I don't know. I think in the quality of in the fluidity of the animation and the quality of the
Yeah, the
models, I do think it
fluidity
looks
is
better.
definitely better than the 2012 Ninja
Than the,
Turtles as far
like
as.
I
Oh,
think it does look better than that by a noticeable degree.
hmm.
But like also just the way like the shots are set up can be pretty cinematic, and it's like this is not a sterile show. Like this is not Sonic Boom.
Yeah, they
Like
definitely got a bigger budget than Sonic Boom had, whether it's like
bigger
3
budget, more
backgrounds.
creative shots. Like the action in this is just great. Like I love like Sonic has never like had action this good in animation before.
Yeah.
Like outside of maybe the Unleashed opening or something, but it's just wild seeing it. It was just wild seeing this stuff in motion.
Yeah,
There's
especially the scenes where the robots are chasing him through the this New York and everything, and New York. I keep saying it wrong.
Oh,
Um,
the New York action shots from the first episode were like like some of the top highlights. I think that's
yeah, and those were
clearly where
directed
they
pretty well.
put a little more of the budget and time versus other parts of the show.
It seems so.
Um,
Although the Rose Thorn chase sequence was pretty neat. Just
yeah,
Yeah, I
the
mean,
forest
she
popping
found a
up
way to
underneath.
found a way to slow down Sonic by constantly having the plants and trees prop up from underneath him and or cage him around to keep
like
him
this is just
slowing down.
something I've been wanting from a Sonic show for basically forever. Like as much as I love Sonic Sat AM, it was pretty low budget in terms of its action and stuff. And don't even get me started on Sonic X.
Man,
Ah,
Sonic X was something. We need to have an extended discussion about Sonic X at some point, don't we?
really want to do a podcast series on Sonic X.
I don't want to do a podcast series about Sonic X. I just want to say things about Sonic X for like 2 hours and then never have to think about Sonic X again.
Oh no! If I do it, it's gonna be a longer project.
There's worse
than
things
that.
than Sonic X, though. I mean, Sonic Underground's a lot
Yeah,
worse than
Sonic Underground
Sonic
is
X.
terrible. Like I have been going through animation shots from all of the cartoons for Daily Sonic, and Sonic Underground easily had the worst quality animation and the worst action and some of the worst voice acting. It is just
And the worst character
bad.
design. And
Worse than most erratic character designs. But regardless, like Sonic Boom, Sonic Prime, the bad days are over now. Sonic Prime is here. Sonic Prime looks great. Sonic Prime moves great. It has good action. I'm like, I really hope this show lasts. Like, apparently they are like at least open to making more seasons of this if this initial season goes well.
Right.
I'm curious how it will, if only because Netflix is in a very weird space right now, and while I would like to believe that they would not, kill a show that's doing well for them, that's also the thing that Netflix does.
Well, what Netflix has been doing is they have been killing shows that aren't doing as well for them as their other shows. But so at the very least, Sonic Prime seems to have gotten some really good initial numbers. Like it's like I think #1 kid show, #3 worldwide. As of yesterday, I haven't checked checked
Yeah,
the
it's
rankings
hard
for
to
the
get
day.
real data off of that, just if only because Netflix tends to be very quiet about its own internal data.
Yeah, like I don't know. I'm hoping that Sonic Prime will live on. They will finish the Shadowverse story arc with season 1, then move on to like something game related in the next one. Well, okay. So we talked about the guys. Do you guys have anything else to say about the animation?
That's about it. I mean, I'm glad to see that we have a lot more locations than we ever had with Sonic Boom, and the lighting and everything is done well. I mean, it's not no big budget animation, still TV,
Big
CGI
budget TV
animation.
animation, I think. Like you can at least like I think you can at least say that.
I
I don't.
I'd say mid-budget.
it is decently budgeted for this type of kids program. It's not it's not like they're remaking a bunch of different models. In fact, there is at least an argument to be made, and I'm not going to necessarily buy fully into this argument, but devil's advocate. There is the argument to be made that we have been jumping around several existing universe locations, perhaps, to reduce the number of those that they have to build out.
I don't really think so. Like I think that in terms of the pacing of the show, it has made sense for them to spend as much time as they have in any given universe.
Yeah.
Like I think an argument that you could make is that one reason why they went with this alternate universe jumping thing to begin with is so that they didn't have to completely remake all the characters, but still have a decently sized cast. Like, but even then, like they probably could have saved money by just making the normal characters the main characters instead of splitting them off in the different versions. So I don't know. But I'm looking forward to seeing where we go from here.
Oh yeah, I mean they ended on a cliffhanger. Like nothing has been resolved. We still have. I'm guessing the next set will also be 8 episodes, and then the set after that will also be episodes.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's how Netflix tends to operate, and we can probably expect the next batch in like the spring,
probably
maybe the
3
summer.
to 4 months.
Yeah. I will say this. I was surprised that they introduced the whole other characters starting to jump dimensions at this point, because I said at the beginning, I was very much expecting this to be something more akin to Marvel's What If Disney Plus series, where it was like, we're going to tell a bunch of stories of these different alternate reality perspectives, except we're going to have Sonic in them in this point. And then at the end of the show, we'll have the big, I guess I will say, spoilers for Marvel's What If on Disney Plus. They will have something at the end of the series where it's like, well, now these things converge and we have to get all of our friends that we made in the other universes and team up against it. And they still might do that, but they're having the visiting universe things coming much earlier in the series than I would have expected. We're at the 1/3 point, and they already have, hey, the big bads of the city universe trying to take over the other universes. So I think that makes for an interesting story, especially as it relates to Nine being as interesting a character as he is, and the Chaos Council, being who they are.
I do think that
also makes good merchandising opportunities. For whoever's
like
doing toys of this.
They are making a pirate ship playset.
Are they?
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
I meant to report on it. That got leaked from Target a few days ago.
Okay.
Who's making the toys? Jack Specific or another company?
Jack Specific.
Okay.
Jack Specific.
I thought we would have gotten like an announcement, like a very public announcement of them saying, "Hey, we're gonna be making toys for this thing," like way beforehand.
Well,
Honestly,
I think when they did He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, those toys didn't come till like the second part of the first season.
no, but whenever the movie came out, like they were very quick to announce, "Hey, we're doing toys for the second movie."
I do think it bodes well for the pacing.
Oh yeah, that's
That they,
Paramount though. That's
I do
different.
think it,
Yeah.
I do think it bodes well for the pacing that they are already shaking things up like they are. Like, this does mean that it's not that the show isn't going to have a chance to kind of fall into a formula that's going to just stick with for most of its runtime, and so that should, like, I think we still have no idea how this thing's actually going to end. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Chaos Council got defeated by like the midway point or something, and then something else happened.
I mean, I guess
Um,
that's the nine turns evil theory or something.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I am so like I am ultimately wondering like what kind of worlds we're gonna get. Like maybe we'll get like a noir inspired universe for Rouge or something. I don't know. Like
Well, you
I don't
figure
really
that
what.
I guess it's probably worth mentioning that we have no sense of like what is coming later, because way back when we even first started to get any sense of the show, the only things we were able to see was the city universe and the jungle universe, and they gave us the logo for this version of Dr. Eggman, which I think ultimately became the Chaos Council, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
And now we don't have a sense, because they haven't really shown anything additional in any of the key art or character art. They aren't teasing what will come next. And I am not going to imply that they do not know, or that they are. I don't know where I'm going with this. I am, or that they may not have another universe. I will say, like, I don't know. I guess I'm with you. I don't know where they're going with the rest of this. I think that it would be interesting to see, or at least to have teased, like, what's kind of the next one. Although, I don't know, Netflix, when are we thinking we might get the next set? Like,
given how Cuphead was spaced out, I would say probably around the spring.
okay. So about, like between 3, 4, 5 months, something like that, I would
Yeah,
say.
yeah. Like if I had to guess, probably 4 months.
Okay.
And then like the next one will probably be like probably like 4 or 5 months after that. um, but we probably won't, we probably aren't going to get anything from season 2 or from part 2 of this until like it's like a couple weeks from coming out, because I think like when like looking at Cuphead's media cycle, like we didn't get any clips on that show until it was about to come out, and so that's probably how it's going to be for part 2 of this.
Yeah, if I remember, like Kevin Smith's Masters of the Universe, I don't remember Cuphead, but it was like 3 to 5 months in between their mini seasons.
Well, of course, that was a 10 episode show with 2 parts, so they had
Yeah.
more reason to space that out more. Um, but yeah, so like I don't think we're gonna be waiting too long for this. It's not gonna be like Star Trek Prodigy where we just wait a year. uh, so do we have anything else to say on Sonic Prime?
Okay, so how would you place this in your Sonic cartoon series best of? I actually do enjoy this over Sadam, but below Sonic Boom. Sonic Boom's still my absolute favorite.
So like I don't know yet. Like one thing I do appreciate about Sad is that it's got a somewhat more it can kind of have a somewhat more subdued tone, albeit Sonic is also a much louder and bigger jerk, which is fun most of the time, but not all the time. But like I don't know, like I do think I have a preference for Sonic Satam's tone over Primes. But the thing about comparing these two shows right now is that Sonic Prime doesn't even have its first season done yet.
Yeah.
And so at the moment, I have difficulties placing it beyond. I like it about the same as Sonic Boom and Sonic Satam. So I enjoy it. That's about as far as I can take it.
I need to see how they stick the landing.
Please note, I didn't really like the humor in Satam much either.
But
except for that whole cooking, torturing Antoine with cooking bit. That was the only thing that made me laugh.
Torturing, no. Sorry.
But
Chris, go on.
at this point in time, Sonic OVA, Sonic Boom, Sonic Prime, Sonic Satam, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic X, Sonic Underground.
I can respect that ranking.
You can also understand why I have the top as I have it.
Is it because you legitimately like Sonic OVA?
I legitimately like it, but then also it's nonsense and strange, and I don't know. I don't know if I can explain that any more than that, but I love it on both the actual serious level and also this is ironic nonsense level.
Well, I'm glad you like it on a serious level as well. For me, like when it comes to the OVA, I don't know. Like I do enjoy it. I have fond memories of it, but I think because I see it more as more of a movie, I have difficulties. I don't know.
It has a cat girl. There's an anime cat girl in that world for some reason.
Anime cat president. Don't forget the cat president.
Right, but his daughter is an anime cat girl, which is specifically notable in an anime, we'll say. This is the show about anthropomorphic characters, and for some reason there's just an anime cat girl.
Do we think IDW is going to make like a comic book miniseries based off of this?
I see maybe.
Depending on how well it does, maybe.
Oh.
They're not above doing spin-offs.
I'd say we have about an 80% chance of getting a Sonic Prime 4-issue miniseries next year that like kind of gets like I don't know has a non-consequential like filler story arc where Sonic goes to some other weird world and it's like written by Evan Stanley or Ian Flynn.
You know what I see? I see? I see a whenever they need to put out their next annual, and they have it be the Sonic Prime annual or something, and they just basically catch up with these characters who maybe not necessarily have Sonic be involved with the story, but say, let's just tell a story about this universe with these characters and just do something small with that. Because
they could, you say annual, but like technically that's what they did with the movie movie earlier this year in addition to the annual. So they could just like have a Sonic Prime one shot with a bunch of small stories focusing like I don't know, origin stories and stuff.
Well, yeah, annual sure, but like they could I'm saying that that's more along the structure that I would expect for something like this, because, I don't know, I don't feel like they could write a story that just jams into the middle of the animated series. I feel like that would be... Well, they could, but it would be awkward.
All right, you convinced me. A one shot. There's an 80% chance to be Sonic Prime one shot.
Okay, here's the take that I'll have. Do we see any Sonic Channel promotional art based on these versions of the characters in the next year?
Huh. If they prove popular, yeah, I think so. Which, like, given the reception to Rusty Rose and 9, I guess there's a pretty good chance of it then.
Because we already know they're making it into the mobile game, Sonic Forces Speed Battle, whatever.
Yeah, I need to unlock that. I need to unlock them.
So, yeah. Jason, we haven't heard from you. Do you think there's a comic? Do you think there is Japanese promotional art based on these characters?
I don't know about Japanese promotional art. There's a chance for a comic, though. I mean, like I say, they've done spin-offs in the past. I don't know if they do a full-fledged comic like Sonic X got from Archie, which was, 40 issues or something. Plus, that was actually different in tone from the actual Sonic X. It was more uh, comedy than the anime was even. But as far as maybe a one shot goes, I could see that happening. We know we're getting merchandise of it, so they probably want as much exposure for the series as possible. So I could see them doing a comic book.
When are
All right.
when are we getting the crossover that everyone's been asking for between Sonic Prime characters and Corone? The public demands it. The public demands it.
I mean, given that the show is canon to the games, according to the show producers, we already got it in Sonic Frontiers.
Is the Corone DLC canon to the games or canon to the game universe? Cool.
Yes, it is. Like that is like core to the Sonic canons, the Corona DLC.
I am looking. I did a very brief search for to even remember her name. Sonic VTuber, and I'm looking at a Nintendo Life page and being reminded that she did promotional work for the second Paramount movie.
Did not know that.
I did not remember that either.
Honestly, the first I heard from her was like there was a YouTube animation of her reacting to Banjo and Kazooie. It was like, I don't know, her as various Banjo and Kazooie characters. But regardless, so Sonic Prime. I don't think I have anything else to say. So if we're all done, are we all done?
I was done about, I don't know, an hour ago. Now I'm just BSing. Now I just want to look up, like, what are the weird collaborations that Corone has done with Sega, and see what comes up. You can do that in
your own time. So, I guess, do we have any final thoughts on Sonic Prime?
Jason, what collaboration with Corone would you do?
Is Corone that anime dog girl thing?
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
The Hololive VTuber.
Because I don't really care for VTubers at all.
I mean, that doesn't mean you can't, like, I don't know, feign interest. I do. I would feign interest.
I would
like Sonic VTuber.
I would start a diner, like an old Greasy Spoon style diner, and I would have to have her as the person you give your orders to, and she just runs around on one of those robot TVs, and you have to give your order to the VTuber.
All right. I think this means that that none of us have anything else to say about Sonic Prime aside from me. So, all right.
That sounds like one thing. The shippers must be happy. They paired the Tails with Amy. Boom, boom.
It was enjoyable. I look forward to more, and we're done. I mean, technically, GX still has to end the stream, but like, as the host, I declare us finished.
Cool.
See you next year.
See you next year. As a little bit,
do an outro.
As a little bit of, but since we're not plugging anything, apparently.
No, okay, we can plug things.
I would like to clarify. Hey, thank you everyone who is watching tonight. I sincerely appreciate it. Much of Sonic Stadium streaming content is going on a bit of a hiatus, for various reasons, but also so I can prepare other things.
Christmas!
Number one, yes, it is Christmas. Number two, it will probably extend into January, so the normal shows you expect to have will not necessarily happen in the way that we're expecting to. Stay tuned to maybe Twitter, depending on how long it is until Elon Musk decides no links to Twitch. But beyond that, just keep an eye out. We're going to have some special stuff coming up. I have to play some terrible decisions per an agreement I made on Twitter. And we have our post-end-of-the-year wrap-up show that we did last year. Go watch last year's and then enjoy this year's, where myself and a guest basically
Ooh.
just roast the dumbest stuff that happened in Sonic this year.
Only the dumbest
Although
stuff?
technically it was a good year for Sonic, let's be honest.
It was
This
also
is
a
probably
very
one of
dumb
his
year for
best years.
Sonic. It was also a very dumb year for Sonic, Jason. It was a very dumb year for Sonic. It wasn't as dumb of a year as last year. Last year was very stupid. But this year was also a dumb year for Sonic things to have happened.
You could say that every year is a dumb year for Sonic.
I know, and it's great.
All right. So for me, I recently, right before the actual show debuted, I posted a review of the first episode of Sonic Prime, which I, of course, watched through Roblox, the game maker known for its child labor violations, which had to remove that reference from the review at the good advice of GX. Thank you, GX. But and we will, of course, be covering the other shenanigans going on with that game in the new year. But regardless, I lost track. So yeah, I got a review of the first episode up, which y'all can go check out.
And I covered
still want
labor
to for some reason.
grievances about Roblox. So, it's a twofer.
Yeah.
You can listen to his or you can read his experiences about the show as consumed in Roblox, and then you can jump over to mine and basically see why Roblox, well, not why Roblox themselves, but why the developers of Sonic Speed Simulator might not be so great. Well, the developers are fine. The actual studio might be a problem. Allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
But I do have at least one more article I want to get written up, which is for Sonic Frontiers, which is Future Frontiers. What I hope to see from the future of the franchise. And I don't know, I might be writing the site review for the show now. I'm kind of expecting.
That's what I got.
Someone else might be doing that, but
that's
like,
what I got from Dread. I don't know. Let someone else be obscenely positive about something than Dread for once.
He gave Sonic Frontiers a 7 out of 10. I wouldn't say obscenely positive.
Yeah, apparently online that was interpreted as he hates it. Is what Twitter has taught me.
But I don't know when I'll have time for a stream. I haven't done one in a little bit. I'd love to do one for Hanukkah or something, but I don't know. I guess don't have the time.
Don't discuss this unless you're committing to something, Knuckles.
Okay, no, I'm not committing to anything. So, all right, so that's it for me. I'll have some more articles in the new year, though. And Shigs, what do you got going?
Nothing much right now. Still getting settled in. I got my new laptop. I got to figure out how to get everything set up for streaming. Like I said, I've done some like toy reviews, and then it just will not upload onto my video program, and I don't know why. It just takes forever to get from my camera to here, or even if I plug it in directly from the memory card. So I'm having troubles there, but I do have some plans for the New Year's that I might be trying out. I would like to start doing like comic book reviews and such.
When you say toy reviews, do you mean for Sonic?
Yeah, like I did one for the Advent calendar, and I could still not get that thing to load up into the.
Oh,
I can get it in the computer, but when it comes to upload to save, for some reason, I don't know if it's because the laptop doesn't have enough memory or something. It just
well, I mean, if you don't,
forever.
If you attempt to publish it before the 25th, then you're basically admitting that you were dishonest about it.
No, I mean, I tried uploading that for like over a month.
Okay, well, we got
problems with
that. We got to figure out what's wrong with your thing, because that sounds like some stuff we should really be getting onto onto our YouTube. Regardless, okay, this has been a bit of a messy ending. So okay, so we've all hawked our stuff. So I guess all that's left is to say Happy Holidays and Happy Hanukkah from your resident Jew. And I don't know. You guys say your goodbyes or whatever.
In this universe, I did have friends, but they're very painful to be around.
Aw,
Merry Christmas and
you.
Happy New
Merry
Year.
Christmas! Peace all.
All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Oh crap! I need to light my candles tonight.